Hey everyone, welcome to the Hudson-New England Railroad. The Hudson-New England Railroad is a railroad that I designed in HO scale. It's a fictional railroad that runs from outside Hoosick, New York, in Pine Valley, the fictional town, all the way to Bennington, Vermont, down to Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where it connects with Conrail. It's a fictional line, again, and it's based on the Boston and Maine, and that'll be the railroad that ran through that region of the country. Being a Northeast fan and from living in New York, I wanted to incorporate the Northeast still in HO scale. So I'm pretty happy with the result I have here with this layout. It is a switching layout. It's basically to run industries, switch industries. Things have to go a certain order. They have to interchange with a Class 1 railroad. And with that, because it's a short line railroad, I'm able to choose the type of power I like to use. So I have a lot of older GE U-boats, and I have a U-25B as well, and I'm looking to purchasing a couple of Alco units in the future. So it'd be nice to run some of the older power on a short line, just such as this. And a lot of them are like in the Northeast, in New York City, New York State. There's a lot of that going on, a lot of Alcos, especially GVT in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and all over up that region. They mostly use Alco units, so it'll be really nice to do that here. The Class 1 railroad that the Hudson-New England interchanges is Conrail. Conrail used to run through Pittsfield, Massachusetts. There used to be a small yard there. I believe the CSX still has a small yard there. So because I'm a huge Conrail fan, I wanted to incorporate a Class 1 railroad that brings cars in and out into Pittsfield, Massachusetts to interchange with the fictional railroad. And so this railroad will switch all the industries in Pittsfield, Massachusetts and go back to its terminal base in Pine Valley, New York. So this is it's still a work in progress, as you can see. I finished the road bed on this section here. It is all wired up, ready to go. It's fully operational. I wanted to do a first update months ago, but it's been 10 months. I wanted to get the layout fully operated, so it's fully operated. So I'm pleased to say I'm finally having the first update on this HO scale layout. I know it's been a very long time. So yeah, let's get started. So here's the overall view of the layout. The layout is 13 by 12 by 13 feet. Shape of a U, and designed as a shelf layout. Did it this way, that way it can have a living space, as you can see here, and storage for underneath. I have some of my old scale trains underneath still, stuff I'm selling on eBay, and a lot of storage for the DVDs, and storage for all the HO trains. A little workbench, as you can see over there, and starting to cover underneath the layout. So it's like hide some storage of like some of my Christmas decorations, stuff like that. So there's a lot of benefits to having a shelf layout. Construction of the layout started with these 1x4s from the old O-scale layout, drilled to the wall for support, and I used these 12-inch shelving brackets, drilled that to the wall, and I obviously have here 1/2-inch plywood, 1/2-inch plywood and 1/2-inch foam. So it's pretty light but still sturdy at the same time. And I was able to, all the extra pieces of wood, able to put a couple of shelves, as you can see here. And that's my workbench. See, it's a couple of cars I was working on for a customer. So over here was that, but you know, some of these apartments, the construction is not that great. So I had to use 1-inch foam on this side here. Just to accommodate for the height. The height is 4 feet from the floor, So it's about mid chest height, so it's easier to work on the trains, and it's good for the camera when you're filming as well. So for track, I used Atlas Code 83. Use flex track, sectional pieces. I believe the curves, if they're not custom, they are 22-inch radius on this side. The switches are Atlas Code 83 custom number 6 turnouts. I found them very easy to use. I used to have micro engineering switches, and I just didn't like the way they used. The frogs had to be insulated, so these are a lot better, a lot easier to work with, as you can see here. Obviously, cork roll bed is used here. So for wiring is fairly simple for the most part. Besides soldering the rail joiners in certain areas, what's good about the Atlas turnouts, you have to wire every single section of track. The current rolls through really well, so you have to do a lot of wiring and a lot of soldering, which I experienced over time and experimented over time. So that was the best thing. But this is from Lance Meinheim's books and his Facebook page as well. He's known for a lot of model railroading stuff, so it's, I totally recommend his books on industries and switching and wiring, everything you can think of. But I basically used there's a bus wire here, I believe 16 gauge bus wire, solid, and then over here I used suitcase connectors, which go right from the rail or the rail joiners feeders right to the bus wire. And over here I do have my NCE system. It's connected to the NCE system. So the layout is DCC. See here. I actually moved this over here. That's so I can reach both sections of the layouts. Otherwise, I could not reach one section or the other. Eventually, I'll buy another remote. That's so I can have 2 crews when I do switching. So one of the simplest yet confusing things I ever had to do, is the first time I ever had to build a lift out. Since I have a patio door over here, I need a lift out section. So I used these things I got on eBay. I think $10. Gosh, I forgot the name. They're dual roll position something. I forget the name. If I can get the name, anybody needs it, just let me know. But basically, to bus wire to bus wire, feeder to feeder on each end of the track into the lift that I do in both sections, make sure the current is running all together the same way. And I was able to run the trains over to the other side using the lift out section. Okay, so scenery for the layout is, as you can see, it's still a work in progress. All these trees are from the old scale layout, and they actually fit really well here. There you go, you can tell here. These are fronts that I printed out for a backdrop. Look like old distant warehouse buildings. Still not finished yet with the backdrops, of course. That's about the furthest scenery I've completed on this layout. Once I can afford more stuff, I believe I want to start weathering and all that stuff first, and then I can start doing more scenery and foliage and ballast and stuff like that next. So the equipment I'm currently running on this layout is, I like older power. The layout takes place between 1995 and 1998. That's towards the end of the Conroe, because I have a lot of different Conroe power, including SD70s and U-boats. So I wanted to include all that stuff. So it was really fun to it'll be really fun to run all different kind of power. And I figured due to the 90s, I wanted to use older GE and Alco power. So here's the first and only DCC engine I own right now, is the Bowser U25B 2576. Ironically, it's an ex-Conrail unit, ex-Erie Lackawanna. It's a beautiful paint scheme, runs like a champ. Beautiful sounds, lock sound in it. So it runs the entire layout by itself, and eventually the other locomotives I will convert to DCC in the near future. That's where I can run some road freights and run some Conrail locomotives coming, make believe it's coming into the yard to drop off cars. So here is the beginning of Pine Valley, New York. In Pine Valley, New York, this is the main line. To the left, to the right is the original engine facility. I am going to switch it around. I'm going to have the two industries way in the back down there. It's going to come over here in this section, and I'm going to put the engine terminal on the other side, opposite side of the layout. So the layout runs technically east, what do you call it, west to east, and east to west. And so here we're gonna go eastbound this way. And eastbound, we have here in Pine Valley 2 storage tracks, which stores all the cars for the entire layout. Also over here I do have a transload, so I can put a box car, flat car, which can drop off products and ship them by truck or car or whatever, and vice versa, which is why where the caboose is down this way. This is the main line running this way, and the runaround. Over here, these 4 high-cube box cars are used for the Appliance Express warehouse. This is one of the main industries in Pine Valley, is where all your appliances are made, and when they're finished, we're interchangeable with Conrail. Conrail takes them south or north. So here where the road crosses, this is going to be the engine facility here. I'm going to either use or purchase an engine shed, but for now, this is where we have pellets and we have chemicals, and we do have a buffer car for the chemicals. So when switched, the buffer car is just a safety precaution to switch the cars back and forth, 10 cars back and forth. This industry is going to be on the opposite side, like I said before. The engine facility is going to come over here. This way I can have a nice facility for the locomotives, a yard shed or something like that, or a yard office rather. Yeah, I think it would look nice over here, light it up and all that. And then the opposite side will give me a little more room to work with for an industry as well. Okay, over here we're shooting about 20 miles east into Bennington, Vermont from New York State. Bennington is a nice small little town. Bennington University is there. It's a beautiful little town, picturesque town. It reminds me of Ashland, Virginia, and LaGrange, Kentucky, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, stuff like that. And what I want here, which is fictional by the way, I don't think any railroad runs through Bennington at all, but I have it where the railroad runs passenger trains Monday through Friday for the college. So the trains will stop here, drop off students, and then continue on its way back to Pine Valley, and I want to run tourist trains for weekends. So this would be one of the the middle of the run for the local tourist trains, and Pittsfield will be the longer of the running. So it'll be the special ticket for customers. The original plan was going to have street running with the train going running through the street, but I like to do what Ashland, Virginia does. Is the track is ballast and there's road at each end, which to me would be a lot easier to do than to do an actual street running. And it'll be really cool because I have the town going this way, crossing gates, so I can still blow the horn, do all those procedures, and still have the train stop in the middle of the street, just like in Ashland, Virginia. So the next thing that's under construction as well, for scenery base, is the lift out section. This is still Vermont. It's a fictional thing, nothing to do with any particular location in Vermont. But eventually I'm going to put a facade here or something, and have a backdrop, so we'll block my patio door here, and it looks like the mountains in the back. So it will look like a really nice photogenic spot. There'll be water here, and each end will be a dry riverbed. Over here will be water, small maybe some more river, small creek. and this would be a girder trestle going across. Okay, now we're into Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which is the end of the line for the Hudson New England. It's where it interchanges with Conrail. Over here is Johnny Hard's Lumber. We always have to have a quirky name for these things, and it's actually a lumber industry. So there's a lumber car sitting there, and it's empty. It's going to be hopefully be filled up over the next couple of weeks to be delivered out for Conrail. Eventually, I'll have part of a building flat there. Shelves for the lumber and maybe a forklift and stuff like that, and eventually be a fence and a gate around the perimeter of the business itself, and probably for a gate for the tracks. And over here is the road. This is Industrial Avenue, which is one of the main roads that cuts through here because of all industries. Okay, the next industry is in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We have a coil steel mill and scrap loads. The coil steel is delivered, and it's made. It actually makes all the parts for the appliances for Appliance Express. So I do have a high-cube box car in there that's being loaded at the moment. The next Pine Valley local will take that car, which is loaded with parts, and bring it into Pine Valley and switch out the empties for the loaded one. And the empties would go into storage or go back to Conrail to go and use for other purposes. The high-cube box cars in Pine Valley are strictly Hudson New England cars. I have to decal them, but they'll be used strictly for the railroad. And over here we do have scraps. All the scrap pieces that aren't needed are recycled and they're brought into this hopper cars, and they will be taken to Conrail, which will bring it to a plant to be recycled. This industry right here, unfortunately, not enough room for actual building to go this way. It may make it flat or something like that. But a lot of times when you do industries, you don't need something to represent something. You really don't need a full building that's there. But this is going to be a bakery. I believe it's called the New England Bakery. That's going to be the company, New England Bakery Company, something like that. But it's going to have a tank car and a wheat, a grain hopper, box car, and a refrigerator box car, which right now is being dropped off by Conrail as we speak. So there's another industry. Here's the bakery, so it's pretty cool. So moving right along this way, we have a tremendous, big industry, and this is the Bay Colony Brewery. Since it's in Massachusetts, figured called the Bay Colony. And with this one, there's multiple industries within this industry itself. So I do have, they do make their own bottles. So I do have cars for sand and glass, for the mixtures here, the chemicals for the to make the glass. The box car is for parts and for other things to make the glass. And the gondola car down here is actually the wood to make the different kind of beers for the flavors, smoke flavors. So the main line runs through right here. Okay, the Illinois Central represents the Hudson New England Railroad. The Conrail train represents the Conrail interchange. This is all Route 98 territory. This is all inside the Hudson New England rail yard. That is not Conrail's rail yard. Although Conrail will drop off half its train in Pittsfield and take the train that it needs to come into the Hudson New England yard, into this yard. So this Conrail train will drop off the two reefers and the box car, and the locomotive will run around and hook back to their train and take it to wherever the rest of its journey. So in the foreground here is the runaround track for Conrail. This is their yard track. This is the Hudson New England main line. This is the Hudson New England runaround. Okay, so going back to the brewery here, this is this part here is where everything. So the other parts of the industry where everything's made, the chemical stuff. This section here is where the actual products for the beer is really made. So we do have a wheat car, grain hopper, and a tank car. And again, the reefer and the box car will be delivered to over here. The box car has cardboard and all different kind of stuff to hold the beer in. So if you want a 6-pack or 8-pack, plastics, all that stuff, they're in that boxcar right now, about to be delivered. And the reefer car is empty, but when the beer is ready to go, we'll go into the reefer car, and Connor will take it back, and it will take it wherever it's needed to go, to any of the supermarkets or the bars. So we have that industry here. There's the big industry and the layout for a big variety of rolling stock to switch out. So it'll be a lot of fun when, once I start doing real operations. This track here is maintenance of way equipment. I wanted to add this track because this is not enough room, and I have always had this Amtrak maintenance of way crane and boom car. I never ever used it in my entire life. I had it since I was a little kid. International hobby, so converted it with couplers. So this is the maintenance of way where the train sits here. This is the main line for Hudson&NewEngland Railroad. Here's the Conrail yard track, and this is these two tracks here. Is where, let's say, I do have a couple of Conrail locals that actually come into the yard from doing their own industries, and they still drop off in this yard. So if the Hudson&NewEngland Railroad needs to do some switching, these are storage tracks for Conrail and Hudson&NewEngland locomotives. They're serviced here. Here's the caboose and the tool car they use for the maintenance of way equipment are serviced over here, along with the other caboose, which is a private caboose that's owned by a private individual. If he wants to run it on the tourist trains, he usually stayed on that side. So this is also all the cabooses, maintenance of way are used on these tracks here, along with a little bit of engine servicing. Maintenance of way is over here. So that basically completes the entire layout for its tour. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we're going to talk about a couple other things here in a minute. But this is it. This is really cool. It was really fun to build this, and I can't wait to really start doing videos on operation. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tour of the layout, and some future stuff that I have planned for this layout. I'm gonna weather the track. That's the next step. Weather the track, and I do have a little issue here with the trains cruising down this way by itself. So I need to lift this board up a little bit, balance it out that way. The cars can stay still and not roll all over the place. And then after that, we'll be hooking up these caboose industry switch stands. A lot easier to work with those things. Then after weathering that, the next step will be to do some scenery, ballasting, and then obviously working on scratch building some of these industries, and that'll be it for the most part. So just really scenery, ballasting, and weathering, and the next step after that will probably be converting some of these diesel locomotives to DCC, and like to purchase one more locomotive hopefully by next year. And purchase another remote fit, the NCE system, so I can run. I got 2 crews running this layout. I'm gonna bring a couple buddies of mine. We can just hang out, have a couple of drinks, and just switch the layout. It'll be really cool. So, so that pretty wraps up the first update. Sorry again, it took so long to do a first update. Every time I got something done, it's like, all right, time to update it. No, kept pushing and pushing. Never had time to really do a full video. So it's probably when life gets in the way, So really appreciate everybody's support and patience, and have a great layout. There it goes. See you later. Take care.